On today's episode of Home Media Minefield, I'm going to be reviewing the Blu-ray of Somewhere in Time, coming up. Hello, I'm Keith and welcome to Home Media Minefield, helping you with information to navigate the complexities of home cinema and home media entertainment. And for today's episode, as this is the weekend of Valentine's Day, I decided that I would look at a romantic film. So I am going to review the Blu-ray release of Somewhere in Time, the 1980 fantasy love film starring Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. Now, Somewhere in Time is one of my favourite films, which I won't bore you about on this. If you're interested in hearing more, though, I'll put a link to a podcast that I did a few years back where I talk in depth about why I like this film. But with regards to the home media release, this was released in 2000 on DVD, and that's the copy I've had all of the time since. It was released on Blu-ray in 2019 under the Final Cut Entertainment logo here in the UK. Now, there is a few things to cover here with regards to the release. The Universal release that first came out did include a lot of really good special features that sadly aren't available on this Blu-ray release. However, there are new special features on this and also a noticeable improvement in the picture quality, as one would expect. So, as usual, I'm going to get into this and break down the differences. Okay, so first up with the picture quality. The Universal Collector's Series DVD that I got in 2000, as well as only being obviously standard definition, it was one of those earlier DVD releases where the picture was widescreen but not an anamorphic widescreen release. Now, if you want to know what I'm talking about there, I've done a whole separate video on aspect ratios explained. If you go and watch that, that will drill into a bit more detail. But suffice to say, the version on the DVD wasn't a full anamorphic version and had black bars top and bottom to make it letterbox, and you had to blow it up to get it into full screen, therefore losing quality. Now, around the time that that DVD was released, there was news that to mark the then 20th anniversary of the film, there was going to be a new restoration done from the 35mm prints. Now, that might have been used for later DVD releases and possibly for some of the earlier Blu-ray releases, but I'm pretty certain that that's what's been used in this particular release. So this was good news for me because straight away it meant that it was an anamorphic transfer, but also there is a noticeable picture improvement on this. Now, the film itself was originally shot on two different film stocks, one for the part of the film that was set in 1980 and a different stock for the part of the film that's set in 1912. And quite a lot of the shots almost have this like fantasy haze about them. It was just the style, it was quite colourful and quite blown out in places. Now, on this transfer, there's definitely been no digital noise reduction done because you can see grain from the 35mm film. Now, personally, I like that. I think that helps the film's narrative immensely, but there may be people that would prefer it to be even crisper than you get here. But where I always notice the difference is in the characters' eyes, and you can definitely see a lot more detail in this Blu-ray version than you could on the previous DVDs. I'll try and put some shots up to sort of show you the difference. Obviously, you know, this is taken on a iPhone taking a picture of the TV screen, but hopefully it's enough to give you some idea of the difference here. But like I said, some of the soft shots and soft focus in the film is somewhat intentional. I think this looks great, this high def transfer for a film of its age. Now onto the audio, and they've not really done anything special for the Blu-ray release of this. The film was originally in mono, and for the DVD release they did a 2.0 stereo version of that original mono soundtrack. Now it is the same here on the Blu-ray. There isn't 5.1 or anything like that as an option. It's 2.0 stereo. However, I do feel like when they did the picture restoration, they also cleaned up some of the sound as well, because the soundtrack is very clear and clean, and the levels are quite nicely balanced out between John Barry's wonderful score and the dialogue, and even some of the background chatter and everything seems clearer. Now I don't know whether that's just me being delighted that this film's now available on high def, or whether or not it was actually different, but as I said, in terms of the soundtrack, it isn't an upgrade technically. Now onto the special features, and this is where I am a little bit heartbroken, unfortunately, because I don't know whether it's to do with rights and the distributors, but the special features that were on the Universal Collector's Edition DVD unfortunately are not present on this Final Cut Entertainment Blu-ray, which is a shame. However, there are some new special features on this Blu-ray that are excellent. So first I'll mention what's not there. So the 2000 recorded commentary by director Gino Schwartz, which is an excellent commentary that goes into a lot of detail, sadly isn't on this Blu-ray, so I will be keeping my DVD copy for that. There was also an excellent hour-long documentary on the DVD release, which had retrospective interviews with many of the cast and crew and covered a lot of detail about the film. That unfortunately is also missing, as is a 5-minute featurette called Inside Insight, which is about the Somewhere in Time fan group that meet once a year. And even the theatrical trailer is not included on this release. But on to the positives. There are some new special features that are indeed very good. So first up, you get a 20-minute interview that was recorded in 2019 called Timing It Right, Cutting Together Somewhere in Time, which is an interview with editor Jeff Gorson. Now Jeff talks a lot about his career and how he was initially given an opportunity by editor Verna Fields, who was the editor on Jaws, and how he worked his way up from there. He gives a lot of stories about the process of editing Somewhere in Time and talks about the legacy of the film. Next up is a 30-minute interview with film historian Kim Newman called A Place in Time. Now this is very entertaining. Kim's excellent encyclopedic knowledge of both film and literature come into play here, where he makes references to all kinds of literature and movies that inspired some of the themes that were covered in Somewhere in Time. He of course talks about Richard Matheson's novel Bid Time Return, on which this film was based, and I love it because he even talks about all of the connections between Rod Serling, Richard Matheson, Gino Schwartz and Steven Spielberg, with a bit of Roger Corman thrown in there as well. So references left, right and centre. Really interesting to hear him chat about this film. This is expanded on even more so with the next featurette, which is a 12-minute interview called A Romantic Rendezvous with Alan Bryce of Infinity magazine. Now Alan talks a lot about Christopher Reeve's career, and particularly where he was in his career at the time of choosing to make Somewhere in Time. He again talks about the legacy of this film, and of course even cites the James Bond connection with Jane Seymour and John Barry. Again, it's a short interview to camera, but nice that it's been included. So that rounds out the new special features, a little over an hour of new material. But as I said, you sacrifice an hour and 20 minutes of material plus an audio commentary from the DVD release. So in terms of scoring, for the picture, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Okay, this isn't a 4K HDR transfer. However, it is a vast improvement on the DVD release that I had. With regards to the sound, I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5 because, as I said, it isn't a massive upgrade with a 5.1 soundtrack. However, I do think that some clean-up work has been done here, as I've already stated, so I'll give that a 3 out of 5. And with regards to the special features, again, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. The new features that are on here are very good. It's really good to hear people passionately talk about this film in retrospect, but the commentary and documentaries that were on the previous release were also incredibly in-depth, and I would have liked to have had it all on this Blu-ray ideally, but there you go. So that leaves this release at a 10 out of a possible 15, but not too bad for a film that's now 41 years old. Whilst we're on the subject of Valentine's Day and romantic films, I just want to use this opportunity to promote a film that gets its release on Sunday the 14th of February by a filmmaker friend and my co-host when I did the Movie Heaven, Movie Hell podcast, Simon Aitken. Modern Love is an anthology feature film, and I'm even in one of the stories, so please check that out. I will put a link below to the trailer for this so that you can check it out, but as I said, it will be available on Amazon Prime from Sunday, so please show some support and take a look at that. And as I said, I'll also put links below to the podcast and to where you can buy this film. And that brings me to the end of this edition of Home Media Minefield. If indeed you did find this interesting, please could you smash that like, consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss anything moving forward. I post physical media, unboxings and reviews every week. If there's anything in particular that you'd like me to cover, or if you've got any comments or feedback, please put that down below. That'll be great. It all helps, and please do share and spread the word on social media. But for now, I thank you for your time, and I shall speak to you at the next Home Media Minefield. Bye for now.